One big joke. It's a fucked up world. Here we are in. I ain't going nowhere.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Reason Reborn. I failed to mention that last episode because to be honest and clear, I lost count a long time ago as we started doing this. But our last episode was 100. So now we're on episode 101. We have cleared the century mark, people. Congratulations, Cardiac. We have made it. We've done this for at least damn near 2 years worth of episodes. How we last this long, I don't know, especially in this administration. How any of us has lasted this long, not just by being able to record, but to be alive, period, due to the administration, is amazing. So, pat on the back to all of us in America who survived these 4 years. As I mentioned, I'm here with my co-host, Cardiac Sumo. How are you, sir?
Elated. I was pretty certain I would be taken down by the murder hornets by now, but I haven't heard much on them lately, so I guess we're in the clear.
You're in the winter now. They're hibernating. They just wait. They're chilling and like they're waiting for. It's kind of like a war. Like you don't generally do a campaign in the winter. You kind of hunker down and prepare yourself. So when the warmer months come, you can strike with all your might.
They're waiting for us to get all comfortable in the spring, all excited. Go out, not wearing jackets and protection and shit. They're waiting for the vulnerable time.
Exactly. They want to get you when you're like at your most vulnerable. That's how it always works. Oh, as you can see, that. Yeah, no, it's smart warfare. Smart warfare. Good tactics. As you guys can see, I have my face cam on, but you can barely see me because I don't have much lighting, like I said in the last episode. But that has been fixed thanks to someone, a former fellow YouTuber. I don't think he still does YouTube anymore. Zilla, a Nintendo ambassador who saw that my birthday had passed, and he asked me if I wanted to get this ring light that I had mentioned on Twitter. I really, really want it. And I was like, well, yeah, because I kind of need lighting. And I wasn't going to take it because I felt weird. I always feel weird when people offer me shit. And I still feel weird and guilty and all of that because I'm a fucked up individual mentally, of course. But he got it for me. It's on sale on Amazon for $50. So I will be doing an unboxing and eventually a review on this, as I've been known to do, even though I didn't do one for my computer. Technically, I did do one for my computer. I ever mentioned that to you, how I did that shit, and I totally didn't post it. Hold on, your mic's out.
Sorry, I didn't even mention it. No.
Yeah, I actually recorded like a whole set of videos of me unboxing each part, every part. And had this whole thing set up. I actually did a post build video where I showed you the build and I showed you everything together and all of that. And then I just totally forgot to post it. It's sitting somewhere on this. If I could find the camcorder that I have, this really old camcorder I have.
I don't know. As long as it still exists, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to change the title of the videos, here's me building my 8-year-old computer.
I know it feels like it's 8 years now, even though it was I guess May, June when I got it all together.
I do remember you building the computer earlier in the year.
Yeah, I know.
Because you were talking about getting parts, one at a time, sort of building it up. But I did not know there was a video documenting this.
It is actually
a series of videos.
It has been documented, and it's just sitting in a couple of AVI files on a SD card that's inside of my camera. Well, yeah. Eventually, I won't probably put that together. Although if someone wants to see 8 month, damn near 8 month footage of that shit, feel free. I'll do it. I don't mind putting in the editing work. But I will talk about this because I really, really want to set this up. And yeah, glad you can't see me totally clear because my COVID hair is just wild. I just have like an uneven mini bush. It's sad because when you get older, hair doesn't grow the way it should grow, I feel. So it's kind of uneven. Like this side is like a little bit longer than that side. Even though, like, and then of course the middle, as you could have saw when I leaned back, is thinning. It's not barren, but it's a weird family tradition where we thin in the middle, but we don't go bald, which is annoying.
You could just choose to go bald. You know, like they have devices that let you.
A couple of my brothers have decided, like, fuck it. Like, I just don't feel the need to go to a barber shop in a pandemic. So. And I'm not too comfortable with the idea of trying to make myself go bald. Plus, my head. Like, I don't want to relive my childhood. I already have had, like, the haunting of the fact that I have, as my family used to call it when I was little, part of the reason why I'm fucked up mentally, by the way. Thank you guys. Is that they said I have a like peanut's head. And that's not to say that it's shaped like a peanut, but because my nickname as a kid used to be Charlie Brown. Because they say my head's like big and round like Charlie Brown, so it's a peanut.
Oh, I was like, I feel like it feels like a reach, felt like a journey to like. I was sitting here like Charlie Brown. How could you possibly make that jump?
Yeah, that was my nickname. It's sad because I also, I guess I have big feet. I mean, they're not huge feet, but I said we're kind of big for a kid at the time. So they used to always call me the boy with the Charlie Brown head and the Flintstone feet, which is not something you want to hear as a 6-year-old.
I wouldn't imagine so, no. Although if it's any consolation, I don't feel like your family was that creative with their insults.
Yeah. But I mean, if you saw some little kid pictures of me, you probably would have been like, ooh, yeah, you kind of do got a Charlie Brown. Like, yeah.
Maybe I'm too focused on the cosmetics, but like, I don't know. I feel like there's better. Look at me. Instead of being like, comforting and be like, yeah, fuck those guys up. Like they could have.
Like they could have come harder with this, son. Like, come on.
You only cracked his soul. You didn't destroy it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you. Jesus. Well, let's start breaking our souls. So I rushed to start this because we were supposed to be talking about the stimulus package to lead things off. And the stimulus package has become a fucking nightmare. So originally, Congress has decided to show their benevolence, I guess, is what Mitch McConnell and his gaggle of ghouls by giving us a $900 billion stimulus package, which includes $600 stimulus checks for everybody. And, limited funding for specific groups. I say limited because they took out state funding and they took out foreign aid funding from the $2.3 trillion package that the House of Representatives have passed twice. Now, Steve Mnuchin, the head of Treasury, had said we'll get the stimulus checks as soon as next week. And while there was a lot of griping and there was even call for vetoes by both sides, Democrats wanting it vetoed because it's not enough. Republicans wanting it vetoed because they felt like it's the $600 is too much money to spend, which fuck my life. Like y'all really are warped. Well, apparently now Donald Trump doesn't think any of it is enough, as he has sent the COVID bill back to Congress. He's demanding that the direct payments be increased from $600 to $2,000 per person, and wants to slash even more foreign aid.
That's funny. Just before we got on, I'd seen some hubbub about this. I hadn't looked at any legit news source yet, so when I saw the number 2,000 floating around, I was like, is this just bullshit? Where is this suddenly coming from? I only saw this like about half an hour or so ago. So it's kind of breaking news to me, guys.
It's breaking to both of us because I didn't know it until right before I panicked, said we gotta like fucking record now. Now it's bullshit, of course. And here's why I think it's bullshit. He doesn't want to actually sign the bill and give anything. I really think that this is just his, like, this is the way that they've constructed to opt out of having to pass anything at all. To be quite honest, I don't think he really has any intentions to see us get $2,000. I don't think he cares. I think that he just wants to make a, PR move that will gloss over the fact that we're not getting anything until Biden gets in office.
With pretty little context, it is kind of hard to fathom that. What has it been? 6-7 months of fighting to get 600. He's suddenly like, yeah, 2,000. There's only two explanations possible, and neither of them are good. I say possible, likely. Neither of them are good. The first one you said where, he just doesn't have any interest in doing it. The second being that he thinks it'll look good for him if he at least says he wants more, even if he doesn't actually do it. Like, neither of those are positive reasons. And the likelihood of it actually happening seems kind of unlikely, unless the nation just really rocks against them, but I doubt that. Well, I'm sure a lot of people on the left have been like, 600 is bullshit. It's insulting. It's this, it's that. So maybe they'd be like, yeah, 2,000, but I just don't see that as a practical approach to doing anything. And in the meantime, because what did you say? The 600 was set to be sent out next week or so?
Yeah.
Within a week or so. So in the meantime, while we're going through this swirl some more, that's more time people aren't getting anything.
Exactly.
So I don't know that this is a victory unless somehow he really does secure 2,000 soon.
Another thing that makes me think that it's more about like just delaying is because we've had some interesting news come out of his office. So we've had the report that there are people on this staff, one particular person, I don't know his name, but I just heard this earlier today, that a staff member was pushing for herd immunity. The idea being that if we just let everybody, like under elderly age people, like let people in their 20s, 30s, and young children of all ages contract it, we'll pretty much like be fine because they'll get sick and then they'll get over it and it'll build the herd immunity, which that's not how herd immunity actually works. As we have seen with Sweden, who tried the exact same thing, and they ended up having a pretty bad ratio of people contracting it and dying, considering their population. They were angry that we wanted to shut down, that we ended up shutting down schools and things like that. They thought that the best thing was to keep everything open, let young people, keep old people in the house, let everybody get sick, and then who survive, once everybody who survives will be fine, which is not a plan at all. And then you have the Jared Kushner news where apparently he opened up a false company which was redirecting funds from campaign donations into an account for their personal use. You know, you have all of that coming out. It was one more thing, and I can't not remember what that one more thing was, but it's just been a lot of really negative press. And also today he just um, pardoned 4 U.S. servicemen who worked for Blackwater that were killing Iraqi citizens during the Iraqi war. So he's got a lot of shit to cover over with this quote unquote bold and wonderful move that he's making with the whole demand for $2,000.
I suppose if he's that worried about it, I don't see that too many people were talking about those stories. I mean, I saw the Kushner thing at least several days ago, I think, unless I'm confusing with something else. So it has not consumed media at the moment. A lot of us are still, at least the news sources I'm looking at, are still talking a lot about trying to deploy COVID vaccines. It mostly seems to be the focus in the news cycle right now. So I personally don't think that he needed to be that worried about that stuff. I mean, I wish he was more worried. I wish we were reacting to it a bit more, but I don't, it's kind of hard to know what motivates a maniac.
He could have wrote an executive order to have the Treasury issue the checks. The checks were that big. He could have wrote an executive order and then dared McConnell and them to void it. He could have.
I mean, Trump does not like to do things. He likes to talk about things. So, physical possibilities are not the same thing as like willpower. Again, he's the kind of guy that just runs his mouth about any given thing in any given direction. So it's like, did he want to distract from other issues? Maybe.
I truly have to believe that he does, because looking at my Twitter and looking at the reaction of people who actually don't fucking pay attention to what's going on, like, they're all tweaking. And of course they're going to tweak, because all it takes is just to give something plain and as simple as says, I want to give you more money. And that'll move the meter for a lot of people. And that'll start the conversation.
I suppose maybe I'm just too cynical about it. Like, I just don't imagine that Trump really has those sort of strategic thoughts. I think he just spews out garbage at any given moment.
But the thing is,
some of which is convenient to him, but
it is convenient to him because we've had so many fucking bills. Again, House of Representatives have passed 2 bills with $2 trillion in aid that would have covered a multitude of things, including small businesses, including like rent protection, including, it wouldn't have been 2,000, but at least would have been the 1,200, which was their concession anyway, because 2,000 was always the accent anyway. Everybody saw Canada do it and was like, yeah, why don't we do like Canada? It's been on the table forever. Bills have been passed to do this exact thing. He could have pushed for that shit anytime. Why are you waiting now when you're pretty much gone and you're not going to, like, now all of a sudden you want to be this noble figure? And I keep seeing people like, oh, finally he's doing something right. Like, no, he's not. Because if he really cared to do something right, he would have did something right in the first fucking place. And that's why I cannot at all believe that this is something that he really believes in and he wants to do. Like, have we not all been here for the last fucking 4 or 5 years and watched how this man operates? Do you really think that this is a sincere act by him?
I mean, I don't know that he. Yeah, let's even take it a step further back. We've been going through this for about a year. How much has he really said about it at all the entire time?
Right.
He's disturbingly silent about these issues, and
if
all
he
of a sudden
said anything about this whole situation, is that it's fake news. You need to go out and you need to be like active. Mass is bullshit. All that. Even after this motherfucker got COVID and was struggling to breathe while standing in place, he still denied the shit. He got it. He got better, and he was like, "See, you can do the same thing. It ain't that bad." Like, come on.
I mean, exactly. He's had 8 months, 10 months, almost a year to. It would be one thing if he at least been like posturing and pretending to care about this issue. He just hasn't. Honestly, outside of just the general misinformation, saying things like, we're gonna have it cured real soon and shit like that early on, he has said almost nothing about it for months on end. So
that's the other news that I forgot, by the way. The news that Pfizer, the company that has issued the first vaccine, they put out documents showing that they're currently sitting on over 1 million doses of vaccine ready to be shipped. But the administration canceled the orders to have that shipped out and distributed, and have refused to give any information on what they should do with them, like where they should send them, who should get them, how much, and all that. They're just holding off and having them just basically sit on over 1 million doses of the vaccine.
No, those things have to be kept like pretty cold.
Yeah, they have to be kept at I believe it's negative 100 degrees or something like that. Like something like really.
Yeah, like it's not like you're just sitting in a warehouse. It takes resources to store that.
Yeah, and they've yet to like issue where they should go. Companies have already offered and signed on to ship them. Like all the shipping companies have been allocated, and they've set aside resources to ship them. So, all they need is for him to say when and where, and he's not doing it. And this is why I say this is all fucking bullshit. And it's coming at a time where we're getting to the point where a lot of the things that have been federally mandated, like certain rent protections, anti-eviction things, and all of that, all these things are basically about to expire as of once the calendar turns to 2021. States and businesses can do whatever the fuck they want to you. Everybody's gonna be kicked out of the house. All that. This is not the time to be doing that. Like, it's bad enough that they waited till now to get even something put in place. Now you telling them, nah, I'm not gonna sign it. Don't fuck that shit. It's at the time of this recording, y'all. It is December 22nd. 9 days. He wants them to move in 9 days in the way that they couldn't move. And when was the last stimulus thing? March? April?
I want to say March. I don't remember.
So if it's March, okay. So he wants them to move as fast. He wants to move in 9 days. And what it took them 9 months to move towards, which is lesser than what it took them 3 months to move to when this whole thing started.
Well, he's always kind of thought that he's king, essentially. So maybe he really believes that he can just say things. For some reason, still believes he can just say things, and then Congress is like, "Okay, sir," and then I don't know. Again, it's breaking news to me. So, well,
so yeah. While I was,
I heard about it a bit ago, but I just assumed it was bullshit. Because the person who brought it up
exactly
didn't give any context. So I just whatever. Somebody just is saying they want $2,000. I didn't realize that somebody was the president of the United States of America. But there you go. It's a nice little surprise to bring up like right before the podcast starts. I feel like I was just saying a week or so ago, like, man, it's nice how the news cycle just kind of slowed down a bit as we're heading into the final days of this train wreck. I mean, even just this morning, I saw somebody making a joke like, how much does a PlayStation 5 cost? $600? Like, perfect. Like,
well, one, you got to find one. Two,
that was also somebody responded.
Out of all the things that you need, I mean,
the joke was that like it's a conspiracy theory by Sony to like.
No, is that it?
Somehow they pressured the government into giving you the exact amount of money you need to buy their shit.
You mean the same exact amount of money that you would need to buy an Xbox? Get the fuck out of here. So like, come on.
Who's buying an Xbox? Can't play Spider-Man on Xbox. Well,
probably nobody, because I think, I know this is off topic, but I think they sold less than they did the Xbox One at launch or something like that, which I found weird. Like, what the hell? Man.
I mean, how many games do you want to play on the Xbox right now?
None, because I have Game Pass on my PC, so I can play it on my PC.
How often do you use it? Like,
huh?
How often do you
actually do use the Game Pass because of but not for the Xbox games. That's the sad part. I have no Microsoft. Well, let me take that back. The only Microsoft exclusives that I have played are things that have only been on PC, and that's like Age of Empire. Otherwise, I've just played like any random PC game that they've thrown up on there. Like, looking at my desktop right now as we talk about this, River City Girls, Haven, what's the name of this game? Valhalla Cyberpunk. Yeah. And that's just a handful of stuff. No, I take that back. I did try one Microsoft exclusive, and it was not the exclusive to try. Battletoads.
Why was it not the exclusive to try?
Because just like the original Battletoads, the new Battletoads sucks ass. It's a god-awful game. So I will give the developers that much, is that they captured the essence of the original by making it a god-awful fuck game.
Well, then I guess Xbox's lack of sales is a mystery to be solved.
Yeah.
Maybe Russia has something to do with it.
I know that's a weird side note, people. I'm sorry for that. And apologies to Xbox fans. I'm not bagging on your console. Just facts.
Just kidding, Microsoft. Just in case I need a job at some point in the future. Stop burning those bridges.
When they buy Google, you're going to be mad.
Keep my words nice.
They'll never be able to afford it. So you're fine. You work for the superior company.
I didn't say that. That was not me.
As a non-employee, I can. Okay. I have no skin in this game.
To be clear, I am speaking on not speaking on the behalf of any company in any of this. So
nor am I. So because I don't work for any of these companies. So there. Suck it.
To be very clear, especially since we're talking politics, I have to be very clear about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Other political notes. Ilhan Omar has criticized politicians for getting the vaccine. People tried to extrapolate the fact that she said that is a reflection on how she feels about AOC getting the virus. While it's not directly that, it is indirectly that, but at the same time, they're blowing out the proportion. And at the same time, me personally, I think she's blowing shit out of proportion, but Ilhan Omar has the capacity to do that. Like her, but she has a tendency to give blanket blame on things, which you could say like she's kind of right, but she's not always right. At least for me, because I remember her whole thing about, well, if Obama would have did this, then and Obama never really did anything for people. Speech that she did a couple of years ago.
Oh, to clarify, AOC got the vaccine, not the virus, in case anybody's worried out there.
Yeah. Did I say virus?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I was like, wait, she got
vaccine.
it.
It's fine.
Yeah, she's fine.
Yeah, she's fine.
Unless the vaccine turns you into zombies, I guess we'll see. I'm kidding, guys.
Maybe that's how we get our superpowers. Once we get, maybe the solstice is the wrong thing to be hyped for, and maybe it's the vaccine. Maybe that's how we get our superpower.
But I mean, like we were discussing it privately earlier, and I said, you know, I see the point being made on Ilhan's side. Her argument was essentially that we have elderly people, frontline medical care workers who need what is a limited amount of vaccines that we have right now. They need it more than, say, members of, I guess, Congress does, if that's what Ilhan was directing her statement to. And that them taking it as kind of, not selfish or anything, but kind of misguided, I guess. But on AOC's side, as leaders, you kind of need to be in that position where you're not asking people to do things that you yourself wouldn't do. You need to kind of set an example. And, you know, further to her point, there's a lot of paranoia and mistrust and disinformation. Some of it spread by the president. And some of it just had in general. Like, I think we talked last time about the Black community's distaste for this kind of thing. So there's certainly a pressure that I can understand leaders feeling to assuage concerns that this thing is safe. So yeah, they're kind of in a position where they need to show that off. And I guess another further argument is you just don't want your leaders to fall sick in general.
Well, yeah, but to her whole point, she kind of dismissed her own argument when she mentioned the health workers and old elder people, because the people who we've seen get the vaccine first have been old people and health workers. I mean, they've been making the point of showing that on TV that these people are getting it. They've had multiple interviews with people in the media from the health, care community talking about, yeah, we have the vaccine. So it's not like they're not getting it or they didn't get it. It's just that, yeah, they're also now administering it to, and not to all Congress people. It's kind of been like, and I guess that's part of why people are trying to make the assumption, I think, that she's taking shots at AOC, because it's really been a limited amount of people in government who's gotten it. More so, it's been people in government who decided to do exactly what you said AOC was doing, which was, let me show people that it's okay. Like how Obama and Bush and Clinton were like, yeah, we'll go on TV and we'll like get injected live so people could be, could see that we're fine with it and we'll take the bullet, and if it's fucked up, then you'll know, but if it's not, you'll see that like we are comfortable with it and all of that. Like, it's mostly been that. Fauci, he did the same thing, to show people, hey, it's okay. He's been out campaigning, letting people know, including like trying to convince African Americans, like, hey, you do know what African American woman came up with this shit, right? Like, I don't think that she set her own people up, type of thing, which is sad that we have to go there, but I guess understandable. You're muted.
I saw at least one doctor that was on the board reviewing, on the panel, I guess, reviewing that stuff, African-American female doctor. I guess CNN was doing that stuff with her where she talked about it, obviously because she's Black and she had to talk about the Black community problems. But, she showed herself on TV getting the same shot, even though she admitted to being afraid of needles. Which was funny because she was a surgeon, which she admitted. It was kind of odd, but she's like, it's different when you're controlling the needle. But
I agree.
Yeah, you have people
who's afraid of needles. I agree.
You have these people who are demonstrating that it's okay, and unfortunately, like I said, we talked about with reference to the Tuskegee experiments with the Black community, there are people who may well be moved by those sorts of demonstrations. And you mentioned not everybody in Congress, but even if you did have everybody in Congress, it's not like it's that many people. Especially in the long run, it's
roughly like what you got 100 people in the Senate, and you have 500 or so in Congress, something like that. So it's 600 doses. And like I was saying to you earlier, when we were talking about that, there is a need to have certain people in the government have it. Like,
I would like to point out real quick, some of those people in the government are also old. So to be fair, like when Biden got his, Biden was
not
like 77.
some. A lot of these motherfuckers in like our government system qualify.
Some of the faces
for the like
AOC and Kamala are.
Yeah,
Kamala
but
I don't remember.
Nancy Pelosi is damn near 80. Biden's damn near 80. Clyburn's damn near 80. Mitch damn near 80.
Mitch get it?
I'm sure he has. I'm sure he got it first. Huh? I'm sure now that he got it first, but then he bit into the neck of the person who administered it and drank their blood just to show how strong he was and powerful. I'm pretty sure, and I'm sure that's all on camera somewhere. So check the internet. I'm sure you'll find that news feed on foxnews.com or something.
I'm sure somebody will make it a video if not.
But no, I don't think he would do it. I think a lot of Republicans would get it, but not do any public display because that would be counter, to their whole "it's fine" argument that they've been throwing all this time. They'll do their shit in secret.
Which is funny because I would think at the same time they're going to be like, "Get your shot and get your ass back to work. We're not giving you any money." So it's like very conflicting strategies there, which happens when you're inconsistent.
Yeah.
But yeah, my general point was just that it's not like these people are teenagers on spring break or some shit. Like they are old too. So the overlap is, first of all, they're not just, okay, granted, I think a lot of the elderly people we're talking about are elderly people in homes who are in close proximity and can't isolate as well. So I'm not saying there's like 0% point to what she said, but I think there's plenty of strong arguments in the reverse to kind of shut her point down.
Well, and see, it's the kind of arguments like that I kind of always fear because it's that point where you have a point, but you probably want to make sure you have more context to your point. That reminds me of the Tea Party shit. Just being that group that's always like yelling at the ether about how fucked up everything is because of what is being done in the system or what's being done by the opposite side, but never acknowledging that there may be a point to it. She has, at least that's how I feel like a lot of her comments have come off. And a lot of comments that you get in general now from people. It's just like everything's not as clear cut as you think it is.
I mean, it appears to be the case in politics, not just now, but a long time, where it's just sort of making a grandiose statement that kind of tugs at the heartstrings, something more emotional than really logical or pointed. Like just to say, because I think the article that was brought up that described that somebody close to Ilhan had died. I don't know if it was her parent or a father-in-law or something like that had died. And that is unfortunate, certainly, but again, I think you said at the beginning, blowing things kind of out of proportion here, where you're acting like we are depriving elderly people in general of a shit ton of medication when, again, even if you gave all of Congress this medication, the vast majority of it would still go to the people you're talking about.
But again, that's not the case because they're not just issuing it to, like, I do understand like the fucked up nature of how you heard the news that the administration have gotten it, kind of ordered that they get it and have given it to all those people. Yeah, that's fucked up. But I think the whole conversation around congressional members is kind of twisted because it's not like all of them. Like, I'm sure there, again, like I was saying about Mitch McConnell, I'm sure there's some like him and other people who've secretly taken these doses. But in the cases of the AOCs or other people who have been pushing for people to get vaccinated and not be scared, they're just doing it because they want to show people that it's safe. And they're trying, like, it's a positive PR thing because you have a lot of people who don't want to get this vaccine. A lot of people are very, very scared. And in the case of AOC, she knows minorities don't really like to believe in things like that. And it's very influential for someone of her stature who a lot of people who are of the progressive side listen to show like, hey, I got it. I'm fine. You can get it too. It's not a hoax. It's not something fake. It's not going to fuck with you. This is what we need to do to get back to normal. Yeah.
And even if you I'm not going to slam Ilhan too hard on this because I read mostly was just like a quotation. I didn't watch her in the video say it, so I don't really know what her tone was like, and I can't even trust the article because it was bullshit too, the way it kind of cast her against AOC unnecessarily, but
yeah,
it does kind of make it look like, at least appear, that she doesn't accept that even if her point was really valid and that this strategy of trying to convince the public that it's safe by demonstrating doing it yourself wasn't a good strategy. It almost makes it seem like she doesn't accept the motivation behind it, at least, as the casting makes it look like, oh, this is just a bunch of selfish assholes trying to get their things first because they think they matter more. But like that, again, to your point about trying to convince, especially minority groups, the motivation is valid and sound, and that should count for fucking something. It's not just coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it is addressing a real problem. Even if you want to say that it's not the way to address that problem, it is a problem that they're trying to address. And that's, thank goodness that they're at least trying to do fucking something about it instead of just ignoring it.
Yeah, no. But again, it's always been a problem that I've had with the, quote unquote, what do they call themselves? The Democratic Socialist movement.
Yeah,
like I said, no, it's not them because like them, like I've always said, I like them, but they have some things like this instance with Ilhan that bother me, that I feel like are kind of just like, they don't actually, how can I put this? Because I'm not trying to be, differential. Like, because I'm not saying that I have like some total like grasp on how politics work or anything like that. Like, I'm not an expert, but I feel like they also don't understand how certain things work. And I don't know. The best way to say it is, it's like when you come into a certain place, you always, see things. You was like, well, it should work like this. And then you have a hard time realizing that it's not as easy as you think it should be, or it works the way that you think it should be. And you can't adjust. I think they can adjust, but I think they're in a period where sometimes they just kind of go overboard, but for good reason. It's a weird thing. It's hard to explain, because I agree with pretty much 90% of everything they say. I just don't necessarily always agree with how they go about executing it. I guess it's the best way to say. I don't know.
It feels counterproductive, like self-defeating almost, because again, the motivation to do this, to display yourself doing it and convince other people, is sound. So when you kind of attack it that way, what have you really gained other than to make your colleagues look kind of selfish or something? You know what I mean? Like, there's no real benefit to doing that strategically at all. Unless you think that you saying that is going to stop it from happening. But even if it did, what's the benefit to that, really?
Yeah, it's the crux of being progressive, though, because the heart says, like, attack and show no mercy. The head tends to say you got to be considerate of every angle. So the heart and the head fight all the time.
I think if the heart could at least kind of scale the response based on the offense, because I think that's an issue with like a lot of, people in general, but you see with progressives a lot where it's like every possible offense is like a 10 out of 10. There's no like.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. It's like her comments, like, I get it. There is definitely a problem with some of these people who are getting access to the vaccine and how they've treated it in their positions as opposed to regular people. But there's still, like, whether you like it or not, are reasons as to why it's not always a bad thing if those people do get it, which you hate to admit, but
I don't want to overstate things too either, because I don't think she went as far as to be like, my colleagues are terrible people, we should put them in prison. Like, I don't think
and that's the thing. She didn't
far off the board either.
No.
Which of course makes it even harder to talk about, because if we talk about it like this, and then somebody goes and watches, they're gonna be like, y'all are blowing what she said out of proportion. It's like, it's not that she said it with such anger or something. It's just, in practice, what she said wasn't very useful.
Yeah. But it again, head and heart, like, they tend to never sink. So it is what it is. But all right. So 2020 has been a year, to say the least. And part of what I wanted to do with this episode is just to reflect on 2020 and give and get opinions on how we view it overall. So I'm going to ask you to start first and give us your overall take on 2020 as a year. And you can get as personal as you want. It doesn't have to just be based on the shit that's driven us crazy during all these damn podcasts.
It
don't have to just be about Trump.
It's kind of funny. I was about to say, where do I start? And you would think like the logical point to start is at the beginning of the year, but it just feels like a giant blur. So I guess to start with the personal, last year I'd moved from Florida to California pretty late in the year. I want to say like the end of October, early November. It's kind of when I moved out, started a new job. Personally, it's been funny timing for me because I moved out, really briefly started to make like a couple friends or whatever. Then the world suddenly ends, and now I'm sort of, you talk a lot about isolation with the pandemic and stuff. It's odd because I had just moved away from a bunch of friends and family in Florida, so I didn't really have the time to create like a new social group here. Nor did I have much time to explore the surrounding area because, I was moving cross country too. So part of that was just things like getting my car shipped over, certain paperwork things, some of which I've just kind of deferred because the world ended and they didn't matter as much anymore. The couple friends I did have kind of like going back to their own homes. Like I was friends with this one girl I'd met at work, but she somewhere in the Midwest, I think. I can't remember where she went back to, just kind of like be closer to friends and family at the start of the pandemic. So it's been weirdly isolating just because of the timing and stuff, just because I never really got to sit down and expand roots. And then to kind of pull it out of the personal into the macro a bit, there's been so much. I think it's even hard for people to remember because at the same time we have this pandemic, at some point you have a lot of social unrest around police brutality. So you have protests / rioting, depending on what side of the political spectrum you are and how you want to state it. A lot of people in the streets at times we shouldn't be in the streets protesting injustices, certainly. So you've got all that, you got murder hornets fluttering in the background. At one point I woke up because I'm in California, and I remember I tell you this, I woke up, the sky seemed kind of dark still, so I assumed it was still morning. I just kept going back to sleep. Like 3 times later, it was almost noon. The lights were still kind of dim outside, so I was like, well, okay, what the fuck's going on? I suddenly realized there's like a big ass fire or something across the state, and the sky's like literally dark from the flames and shit. I'm like, oh God. I say all this to say it's been like a bunch of disastrous things happening in tandem. It's not like one after the other. Some of them are just kind of overlapping. And of course, you could point to a million things Trump does, as you could have at any point during his presidency, and his attempting to gain the presidency. It's been a lot, and you don't get much of a mental break from any of it. That said, being at home has its advantages too. I got to focus a bit on fitness. Since the beginning of the year, I've dropped about almost 60 pounds. I keep kind of fluttering at like 58, 59, and I haven't really made much progress over the last week because cyberpunk. So there's been that. Been playing video games more than I used to. And I used to be like or more than I have in recent memory. I used to be a pretty big gamer, so getting to get back into gaming even more and play a bigger variety of games has been nice too. So it's been an odd experience. It has had some positives. I know a lot of us feel guilty when we describe some of those positives because, in the world, a lot of people are experiencing a lot of negatives. Like Blak dropping his phone. There's a lot of negatives going around. But there are rays of sunshine there too. So I feel like 20 years from now, if you ask me, like, this is going to be the year I remember more than any of them. Unless, the world ends next year or something, then fine. I won't remember anything because I'll be dead. But
would you say this is probably the most memorable year in your life?
I suppose so. I mean, there's certainly events and whatnot, like 9/11 and things that are life-changing for a lot of people. one, it was a singular event, but as life-changing as it was, I was pretty young at the time too. So it's not like I had the memory or like mental capacity to really absorb it at the time. So I think the difference is this is like, as opposed to being an event that happens like for a day or so and then has like consequences for the rest of the year or years to come. It's been a series of long, stretched out, months long issues stacked on top of each other. Like, it's not like the protest thing was like a single day event or something, you know what I mean? It lasted a long time, as has isolation with the pandemic. I mean, it has a lot of issues. Its presidency has lasted 4 years, so it feels memorable because, at least in part, because so many of them last so long. Whereas I think most big moments in history are events that last like a brief period, even though they are felt long after that. Like I can't say like the pandemic itself is just like a memory, right? Because we're still in it right now. So it's not like, it's a little hard to compare with, you know, past events like that.
Yeah. I thought, and the reason I asked that question is because I was thinking about that. Like me being the resident old man of the podcast, I've always had a thing, especially around this time of year. Like, it's weird. Maybe it's just a getting older thing, or maybe it's just me and how I've always done at the end of the year. Like, I've always been a very melancholy person when it came to the holiday season, because I do a lot of reflection on just things that have happened, especially if personally my year has been memorable, good or bad. Mostly bad. Like, this year has not been a great year, but then the last 4 years have not been 6 years. But yeah, 4 years is in particular because I stress out a lot about Trump, probably. But no, like, seriously, I just like look back and think about things, and it's like it's been a lot of things that happened in my lifetime. A lot of crazy things that I've seen, a lot of changes to society, life, and all of that. But this may end up being probably one of the most memorable ones because of the pandemic, because of how certain things that I've contemplated in the past have now become things that other people are contemplating. Like the fact that we're locked down and the way that like we've had to readjust our lives, and people are starting to discover different things, like how to exist in a world where you don't have to physically go to work, you know, like companies having to adjust and lean more towards technology in a ways that maybe they should have done many years ago, you know, to work more efficiently. Um, just stuff like that. It's just I feel like this year has opened people's eyes to a lot of different ways of how to live life and how to consider things more. Now, of course, there's still tons of people who just totally don't give a fuck and who will scream and kick and cry to the high heavens and to their deathbeds to keep things quote unquote status quo. But I think this is a year for me where I think a lot of us need to start to think about the changes that should be made. Like, politically speaking, we're seeing how the government's reaction is not proper. It's not good enough. And it begs the question, why haven't we made the changes and adjustments that we needed to deal with these things? Why have we rebuked them? Some of those changes, which, to be fair, Obama put in place, like the response to pandemics. We saw this with H1N1. We saw this with the Ebola outbreak. He established certain measures and certain agencies and facilities to be in place, and then we saw this current administration tear them all up because they didn't think that it was necessary. They looked at it as wasteful spending so they can push the money to things that we quote unquote traditionally always do, like military and things like that. And come to find out, guy was kind of smart. The black guy was a little bit smart to think about how we should allocate funds and have a plan in case something happens worse than that. Because I remember when H1N1 happened, a lot of people were thinking that was going to be what this is. And we were caught unawares and we were in shock. And that's why they put those things in place. And now that we, come to a point where we got the pandemic that we thought H1N1 is, we were caught with our pants down because we essentially, I guess not to say we, but our government essentially unbuttoned their pants, unzipped them, and dropped them to their ankles and sat down to be caught. Basically. So, and it's just a lot of things. Like as I've gotten older, I've been paying more attention to politics and the way things work. But I gotta say, this year, the last 4 years, but this year in particular, has opened my eyes even more to just how fucked up shit is, and makes you wonder why things don't change. And then, like I was saying earlier, personally, it's been a struggle and all that. But more importantly, it's been encouraging more than it's been disheartening. Because despite my personal things and despite things like the George Floyd thing, the Breonna Taylor things, like very tragic things, we've seen people start to kind of wake up a little bit more. It's been happening over the last 4 years, but I feel like 2020, part of the benefit of the isolation and the shutdown and all of that has done something to attune people maybe to actually giving a little bit more consideration or giving a fuck more than they normally do. And it seems like has sparked a little bit more proactiveness in people. For all those talk about being progressive and all that, we weren't as proactive as we should be. And I feel like things have gotten a little better in that aspect, which is, amazing. So all that stuff makes this a memorable year because it's just like this weird, crazy conflagration of a multitude of different things that have collided. Discouraging and, encouraging, but just fascinating overall for me. But then I'm a crazy person, so hey.
I mean, it is interesting when you describe, all of that, and you're finding more positivity than I guess I have. Like the little bit of positivity I described was purely personal. In retrospect, I wish I'd continued more in this vein before you went, because now I feel like I'm following some of your positivity with more negativity. But
no,
hearing you say
I'm old.
It would have been better to leave it off on a more uplifting note, so you might have to talk after me again. But I found myself more disheartened going through the year than I expected to be. So things like, I think we talked about it a bit last time, as far as, the way people behave politically now, the fact that wearing a mask in and of itself became such polarizing, politicized issue, to the point of having conspiracy theories around it that people widely held. The emotion around it, even in the other direction, because I was talking to you yesterday about, I saw this artist who drew this thing trying to prompt people to wear masks more, and I was just kind of irritated by it, because I saw it and I just thought, I mean, who are you really reaching with this? Because anybody who cares to wear that mask is already wearing it, and the type of people that's not going to wear that mask is not going to be convinced by your drawing. And maybe that's a little cynical of me, but just watching that level of madness around something so silly certainly made me lose faith in a lot of the American public that I think I had before that. And it's not even just that particular issue, it's just watching how they just devolve into chaos, even over the smallest possible things. How, conspiracy theory seems even sexier than usual, and it's already pretty enticing to a certain group of the public, but even, might be imagining it, but even more now, watching a government flail like a dead fish on land to try to get, I think you said it was like 3 months or whatever to get that first stimulus package out, and here we are stumbling at the finish line for the second, like 9 months later. Like it is shockingly unimpressive and disappointing in many facets. I'm not just disappointed in the government, I'm disappointed in the people across the nation, across both sides of the political spectrum, over a lot of fucking issues. So it's like,
and yeah, I am too, but I think where my positivity comes from is that I see a pushback that I've never seen in my life before. And I guess, and that's why I say, well, I'm old. When I said that, that's what I mean by that, because it is not as simple. Like in some ways it is, but in a lot of ways it really isn't as simple as it was before to just basically, for the government to just say something and like nobody to pay attention. Like it's not where I would like it to be, but people are a lot more wary now. And I think part of my encouragement is seeing people like, the kids from I forget the name. I forget the name, but the school in Florida where they had the shooting. You've seen those kids?
Yeah, fuck.
It's like Park something. I forget. But like with Daniel Hogg and all of them, like you've seen them become more aggressive. You've seen in this election, you look at the numbers, more younger people are voting more than ever and are getting more engaged and interested in the conversation of politics, the basic conversation of politics. So I guess it's because I'm trying to focus on that stuff, because if I don't, like, it's shit. Again, as bad as things have been because I was like you, but the thing is, I was like you. That's why I don't blame you for being that way, because when you're younger, it's harder to see. I guess it's harder to see the hope, because this is your time. This is your generation's time. This is like, the things that are affecting things have a bigger effect on your future. Like, do they affect my future too? Yeah, but when your future is a little shorter, I guess for some, they don't care. They're just like, I'm old, whatever. I just want things the way that they are. But for people like me, I am always looking for the things to know that, and this is going to sound weird, maybe morbid, but when I leave this earth, things will be better for you. And I'm focusing on the things that I see that I know will definitely be better for you, because you're getting better leaders. You're starting to get people like the AOCs and stuff like that who are going to push for better things coming in to their own. You're seeing the change into the guard there. You're seeing, like I said, the younger people start to step up and be more involved. it's sad that it took a grown man being choked and screaming for his mom to spark it, or that it took for a football player to lose his job to spark it. But you're seeing more people be more aggressive and demanding better things in life than I've seen in my lifetime. Because, and you also, even for my generation, you're seeing more of us getting on board with supporting you, as opposed to, I could say with previous generations, it may not have seemed that way. I'm not saying that they didn't do that, but it also kind of seemed like, I hate to say it this way, but like my mom's generation and stuff like that, while they were pushing for better for us, there may have been a little bit more acceptance to the way that things were. Whereas now, you guys and like our generation, like every generation pushes a little bit harder. And I'm seeing that with the last couple of generations. So it's an old man thing, maybe. I don't know. But that's why I see, because, for all the fuck shit that Trump and his administration has done, he's awoken a side that he probably wishes he didn't. It's part of the reason why he's not going to be president again. It's probably part of the reason why, I have strong faith. Like, and I'm not trying to jinx anything, but I am much more hopeful than I've ever would have been before in a runoff election in the state of Georgia that you're going to get 2 Democratic senators in Georgia than I've ever had. I also think that in a couple of years' time, Governor Kemp's going to be fucking pissed that he did what he did, because especially if Stacey Abrams run again for governor, she's going to be governor of Georgia. We're going to have a black woman as the governor of Georgia. Like, and the fact that I've had faith in that stuff is kind of crazy. I don't know what it is that maybe it was Obama, seriously. Because now, like, and the reason I say that is because thinking back to when he became president, I told my mom, I actually texted my mom, I never thought that I would see that in my lifetime, let alone yours. And she said that to me too. She was like, yeah, never in my lifetime would I've ever have thought that we would have seen that. And I think the reactions that we get from people are showing us as time goes on. And this year in particular, with all the struggle that's right, I think it's shown like, yeah, we're going to see a lot more shit in our lifetime that we never thought that we have, and it's going to be carried on by, the generations behind us. I mean, shit, think about it. We don't have a female vice president, but we have a fucking a female president. We have a fucking female black vice president who's of mixed origin, whose parents were immigrants. And not like, oh, my family came here 100 years ago, immigrants, like all the white people that have been president before. But she's like a fucking, first generation immigrant daughter of a Jamaican and an Indian woman. Like, that's pretty fucking cool. So, yeah, it's a lot of shit, but it's a lot of like cool shit too. So maybe that's, but I can also understand why you would feel pessimistic, because like I did in my youth, kind of like, yeah, I was happy when Bill Clinton became president, but it's not enough. And I think that's the cool thing to me too, is that for you, it's not enough what we have now. And I think as long as you keep saying that it's not enough, things are going to keep going better instead of just settling for what you have.
So I definitely see more energy in people and in movements. I guess my point is that energy is not at all good. It's like having a double-edged sword that just gets kind of sharper on both sides, where it is nice that there's more people passionate and aware of certain issues, but when they're really bad at talking about them in public, it just kind of adds to the madness. Which again, I call it double-edged sword for a reason. There is a positive to that. Like, the more people that are motivated to address things, the more likely they are to be fixed and improved. I guess it goes back to like the masking, for example, right? Like, more people being like politically aware and shit like that also leads to more people being irrational on a wider group of issues. And I think that is the kind of thing that is getting to me. Things like, like I'm happy Trump isn't getting a second term, but when I look at the numbers of votes he got, like, that is fucking concerning. If he could behave like he did for the last 5 years, I'm counting, his run up to his election.
Yeah.
Where is the line? You know what I mean? Like, it makes me not trust. And it's a good thing I'm not like an elected official, because this would sound a little bit dictatorial, but it makes me not trust the American public, even when they're passionate, because a passionate idiot is also dangerous.
Yeah.
And that sounds a bit, that's a little bit fucked up for me to say it that way, but I guess that's the kind of thing I mean. Like, a lot of friends, for example, are developing sort of new political passions, and that would seem good on its face, but if their political passions are stupid, then they're just another person causing a problem. Like, if you wake the sleeping giant, well, the thing about giants is they're dangerous. They kind of walk around and stomp on the village, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I also think that I guess, again, part of my positivity is that I have faith. I won't say I have faith, but I can see that there's enough people out there who aren't stupid that are willing to fight to smarten up people more so than anything. Because again, this may be just me not remembering, or just different times, but I really do feel like most people weren't even open to trying as hard to get everybody to understand things, or to push for more understanding than they were, they have ever before. It's weird. It just feels like more people are open to actually learning. And I feel like you're getting less people that are dedicated to being stuck in their ways. Maybe. I don't know. But then that could be me just being extra positive for no reason. Or it could be me just having, that melancholy feeling that I get during this time of year. I don't know. Like, I totally agree with your pessimism in a way, because I fucking have that same pessimism. But I also kind of, I guess, am more in tune to the positive stuff. And maybe, I don't know, it may be just
I think there's a decent road to that. Like, you have, like I said, the bolstering of energy, more and more people interested. If over time, like over the next couple of years, as Trump leaves and he's not like hyping up the media and shit, and that sort of thing is inside people's heads all the time, maybe we can drop some of the baggage of madness that I'm referring to, while maintaining most of the energy. That would help sharpen up the benefits that I think are, because I do think there are benefits there. I guess I'm just saddled by the negatives that came with them. But I think we could shave those off with a little work and time.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think part of my positivity too is that, I don't know, I remember saying this a while back when we were recording, that I felt like, I think I said this around midterms, when you saw the Democratic Party take over at least the House of Representatives, and you saw the whole Doug Jones somehow win a seat in Alabama and all that crazy shit like that. I remember saying, like, I feel like Donald Trump is kind of a symbol of the death throes of old America. Because, you know, the whole having an established system where white people are predominantly in power and their views and their policies that benefit them, and that the oppressiveness that has come with things over time. Donald Trump is kind of a good representation of like what some people still wish America was. And I think the pushback over the last 4 years is a representation of where we're actually going to be and where we're going. And that the fight, the amount of people that voted for him is a reflection of like people just do not want the inevitable change, you know. Like, it's people don't like change, and I've said this many times, like most people really don't like change if they don't see it as a benefit to them. They want change, but only if it reflects what they want for the most part. But now you're starting to get a era where people want to make change that kind of benefits all. And that's a hard thing to swallow for somebody who's always gotten what they want. It's the reason why Mitch McConnell is such a dick. And why he says shit like coming out like, oh, we'll allow Joe Biden to like pick the cabinet members that he had. You know why he said that? Because he's probably scared that they're going to lose Georgia. And if they lose Georgia, the Georgia runoffs, then he has no power. So it behooves him to act like he's giving, you know, Biden permission, when reality could be you don't really have a fucking say if the majority swings to the Democrats, because you're no longer head of the Senate. So fuck what you think. Yeah. But he has to, he is so fucking, you know, obsessed with his power that he cannot ever let you think that he doesn't, like what he says doesn't matter. He needs that. And a lot of, like, I would say there is a substantial amount of white America that still needs that. And that's why you get the reaction that you get.
Right. In his defense, he has had that kind of power for like a long time. It's not like he's imagining his influence or something either. So it's like,
no, he's not. But
his habit is well.
But and again, it's a part of like I said, it's part of why a lot of white America would lean towards Trump, because Trump represents that hold of power, like because of the things that he agreed with them. Like, yeah, this is who we should be in charge. We must maintain that, and we need people like him to maintain that. Because with him falling, don't be surprised if over the next like 4 to 8 years you see a lot of other people fall.
I'm really curious to see what post-Trump America looks like. I know that sounds to people like, what did we used to call it? Trump derangement syndrome or whatever.
Yeah.
Because we're so obsessed with him. But he really is unique in a lot of ways. The way he captures the media, the way he can get away with things even other Republicans sometimes can't. Like, he's a very... he is the leader of the cult. So when he's gone and there's nobody to really, act as a lightning rod for all these passions that his group has, will they weaken as a group? Will they kind of disperse? Will they be less loud? Less obstinate, less in the way? I'd like to hope so. And I think that again, his removal in general, assuming the media doesn't give him too much time after his presidency for him to just run his mouth non-fucking stop, could be one of those paths I'm talking about to something I would be a bit more positive about, just shaving the fat off of all the stuff we've built up over the last few years. So yeah, maybe if you catch me in the middle of 2021, I'll be a bit more positive about it.
It's going to take you a couple of years.
To be clear, again, it's not even just like, the Trump group, because, I consider myself more liberal. Even some of the attitude I feel for people I tend to agree with more often tends to be a bit worrying, where I'm like, I'm one of you, but right now we could be really fucking obnoxious sometimes in a way that turns even me off. It's like, so it does make me kind of wonder about their effectiveness in the long run. And maybe it feeds somewhat into why somebody like Trump can still manage to get the amount of votes he does. His vote count to me is probably one of the most disappointing things ever. I'm glad he lost, but I feel like we pretty much told ourselves and the rest of the world that we still can't be trusted on that front. I don't think we have to worry about it anytime soon, because I don't think any particularly capturing cult leader like Trump is going to rise up like that. But then again, I didn't see Trump coming up either. So I guess we'll have to see. I'd be more positive if I'd gotten a free PS5, but nobody got me one. So y'all are getting the negativity. Well deserved. But you know what? I guess one bit of positivity is I have seen some adjustment to the new way of living, like you're talking about. Like I was in a work meeting and they were talking about like accomplishments and shit, and they were like, and think about it, we've all been like working from home for like the last almost year. I'm like, yeah, this kind of crazy shit is still happening, and none of us have been to the office in months, which kind of proves that you really need to be at an office. Part of me would like to, just to kind of socialize a bit. Again, as I mentioned before, it's a little harder for me because I didn't get to know anybody before being locked down. But it is impressive that we've managed to function. And sure, hell, what game was it? I'd seen some recent game making the same kind of point where it's like, yeah, we've been in lockdown for like a year. We still managed to put this shit together. Fucking nuts. So there's still a lot you can accomplish at home. And
yeah, no.
I hope some of the lessons we've learned here kind of carry through as to how we can be more efficient post-pandemicness.
And it's going to take a while. I mean, not everybody's going to be on. We're going to still see, it's going to be a hard push on both sides. Not like you said, it's not just the right, but the left has issues too. But I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of positive takeaway. And as I've said before, especially on the political stage, it's it's about pushing the rock forward. I would love if you could just push the fucking damn thing all the way to the top of the mountain in one fell swoop. But unfortunately, life doesn't work like that. Maybe we'll get to a point where life does work like that. But as long as the rock is being pushed forward, there's always hope, and there's always something positive to feed on. So.
And I mentioned removing Trump as like this, like he's the energizer bunny of like, the batshit on the right. So I think removing him he's not the only problem, but I think it should help tamp down some of that attitude and energy. But I think it'll also help on the left too, because some of the bad habits I mentioned are often a response to him, because he's just so consistently vile all the fucking time. It's like if you guys ever been like talking to somebody and then they start yelling and then you just kind of start yelling back without, like their energy kind of influences your own energy and you start yelling at them back and all of a sudden you're in a shouting contest. So I think removing elements like Trump will also kind of calm down both sides of the political spectrum. And just a random note, I guess, I'm hoping a little more compassion for people too, because I was thinking about, the isolation thing to, draw it back to the personal. I remember telling somebody, a few months back, I was feeling kind of like stuck in the house and shit. And they're like, why don't you just get out and go somewhere and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I think sometimes y'all take for granted the fact that you've lived in a single place for like years on end. Like, it's not like there's somebody outside with a gun keeping me inside. It's just, I don't know anybody and you can't meet anybody very easily when they're afraid of catching your, possible cooties. If you just go around and like look at strangers, they're kind of like, fuck you trying to do? Are you a spreader? You a carrier? I mean, they act like anybody's a potential zombie. I think it's gotten a bit better, but especially early on, like just this sort of, holding your mask close, watching everybody around you. It's not the ideal environment to like make new friends. So
yeah. Hold on. Do you have an iPhone?
Nope.
Okay. So I guess you would be one of the losers like me, quote unquote, because you can't get on Clubhouse. I've been a certain person that we both know has been chastising me that I need to get an iPhone because I need to get on Clubhouse.
Never heard of it. Sounds lame.
Don't say that. It's blasphemy to people, sir. It's basically like some new social hub where people do a lot of networking and stuff on. Oddly enough, so.
It's weird. Maybe that's one of the ways I'm a little bit more like. I obviously, like I met you online, so it's not like I'm that averse to meeting people online. But it's like there is still something nice about just like walking up to a person and like striking up a conversation and like meeting folks that way.
Yeah.
That unfortunately can't be done if they're afraid that like every breath that comes out of your mouth is a death nail in their coffin.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, I maybe I have just a perspective on it just because of the timing that I moved, but people seem like really not empathetic about that. And they're just like, why don't you just go outside? I go outside. I'm like, well, motherfucker, every single person, like you have a social group that you've been building up for years and you're still there. That's kind of different. Like, if I had not moved, I too would have that same social group. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's kind of weird too, because like to your point about like catching cooties, it's not even about going outside. It's like, one, there's not many people outside because of this.
True.
Two, there's not really many social hubs in right now. Like, it's not like for one, you don't drink, so you wouldn't go to a bar, which everybody considers a social thing. Not a lot of people are going to parks and things like that because people aren't trying to get in contact with people, or if they are going to parks, they're spreading out. So it's not like you're going to be in an area with people clustered up at a park. There's no other social events like, normally you would have movie festivals that people do. You can't go to the movies, or at least you don't want to go to the movies because, again, you don't want to be sitting in a fucking petri dish.
I'd say the most social, like regular thing is like every once in a while going to a grocery store. But even then, like,
right.
I realize little things like maybe somebody says something to me and instinctively I kind of smile, but they don't get that response because they can't see my face under the mask.
Right. And it's not like people have a lot of huge conversations at grocery stores. Like,
all right. So it's like, they tend to reduce it to just going outside and like, yeah, going outside is fine. Get a walk, get some sunlight. That's not the point, really. It's the socializing. Like going outside doesn't matter if I could barely talk to any people out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, I think it's just something they kind of take for granted, which I think makes me a little resentful when I see people just like going out in these sort of big social gatherings. I'm like, some of us couldn't even fucking do that, but here you are risking each other's lives and shit, whatever.
Yeah. And of course, like, think about instances like now, like they're locked down here. Like you can't go and do indoor dining or anything like that. So you're effectively back to the kind of the way it was before, where you can only go to limited places because things are getting worse. So this ain't the year to necessarily try to like bag on somebody for not being as social as you think they should be, because ain't none of us as social as we were before anyway, let alone willing to be as social as we should be, quote unquote, because of this shit. Yeah.
I mean, you know, maybe some of you guys are figuring it out better than me, but fuck.
Those are the people who are like super spreading shit.
True enough.
Probably so. There you go. But yeah,
it's non-trivial. It's all I'm saying. It's not. It's just. I only bring it up because I've gotten shit for it like more than once, and like, but you're not really getting the concern I'm pointing out. It's not. Again, there's no gunman outside keeping me from enjoying the sun. Not the point.
The only person with a gun is COVID. It's trying to blast all over you. You don't want it.
But yeah, I see plenty of good shit. My guy Bootyface is being, I guess he hasn't been confirmed, but you know, nominated for Secretary of Transportation. First gay cabinet member, I believe, openly gay at least.
I believe so, yeah. I don't think we've had any homosexual cabinet member. Now that I think of it. It's so weird how we're still in a country that have all these fucking firsts. Like, good Lord.
Oh. I think it's even good that you have to kind of hesitate to be like, has there been one? Like, I think that's progress by itself a little bit.
Yeah, it's progress that we're having these people come about, but it's still just kind of a sad thing, because I thought about this the other day. Like, people are so giddy over like Kamala being the first like female vice president, the first vice president of color, the first female vice president of color. You know, all these things, like I was saying about the child of immigrants, and all of that. And it's like we got fucking master race country with a fucking female like leader for decades now. England has had female premiers, prime ministers. I mean, and they like, you've had like these first being done all over the world, and like I said, going back to Germany, in a place where shit, you couldn't even be of a certain religion and live in Germany at one point in their history, and they like have progressed past us in some ways. Goddamn,
yeah,
sad.
we're slow moving. Yeah, we're not the speediest of motherfuckers. I was gonna say Speedy Gonzalez, but I was like, one, kind of racist. Two, kind of dated. I don't think a lot of people.
It would have been worse if you would have said Slowpoke Rodriguez.
Hanna-Barbera was a.
Was that Hanna-Barbera or was that
I thought Speedy Gonzalez. Well, I guess I'm just.
I think that's WB. No, that was WB. Bugs Bunny stuff was WB, which I guess can go to show you how wow they're so backwards with their comic book movies. Just thought.
But what I'm hearing with Kamala is that we've knocked out a bunch of firsts. So, you know, First woman, first Indian, first Black, VP, all that. Now we don't have to think about a bunch of firsts. They're just off the table.
Yeah.
It's very efficient. We should do that. We should just like bundle up more like
just find
identities in a person.
We need the first person of color that's of Jewish and Muslim faith and is also homosexual and transgender. They used to be a woman, but they became a man, but they only date men. So they can get it all in one.
They'll be the president. We're not 4 years. We just knock it right the fuck out.
All right, just take it all.
And then all we'll have left is like, Asian, Hispanic.
Oh, and then they have to convert to atheisms just so they can like in midterm.
Midway through.
Like cover that basis too. We can have everything. All people can be covered. Like,
That's how tired I am of hearing about first, honestly, where I'm just like, can we just like get people who kind of knock out a few at a time? It's getting kind of old. Especially for positions that are like, they take years to kind of cycle through. You know what I mean? Like, oh God.
That's the country we live in. Like, slow moving. It's the reason why now we're got our stimulus package like fucking up in limbo because Jesus Christ. This country. But again, I still feel that there's positives, people. I'm not going to say as much as y'all see me complain. As you can see by this episode, I still have some type of positivity within me. You haven't killed my hopes yet.
I mean, hey, things kept happening. People adjusted. Anime came back. I guess that's more of a Japan thing. An American positive. It was like the first thing that came to mind because like a lot of anime got delayed and then they started to come back, some months ago. And I was like, that's one positive. It's like, it's not really an American positive, is it? Yeah. I'm American and I enjoyed it. So I say we count it. Got a good book out of the year.
Yeah, we at least got that. Good book. Some good games. Yeah. It wasn't all that bad.
Nope.
But
you guys should just be better than me at focusing on the positives. Because they do exist. I just don't like to acknowledge them.
Yeah, it'll get better. Just keep fighting, keep pushing. That's my message to everybody. Like, you've done good work. It's not over yet. You got to keep going.
My message is get me a PS5.
Well, it's time to start that GoFundMe.
I was waiting on the stimulus package, but fuck.
Ruined. So ruined. The plans are so ruined. I wish
y'all
I would
literally just shit on Christmas.
That's the funny part. It wasn't even coming before Christmas, which I always thought was kind of a weird thing. Like, I did all this to still make sure that people won't have a good Christmas. It's a damn shame.
You can't even have the hope of it at Christmas time. Take it off the table.
Right. Just kill the joy. Jesus. All right. I think we're done. This will be the last podcast, or at least the last one that we'll record in 2020. Because it's the holiday season and y'all ain't gonna give a fuck about like new podcasts, like especially since Christmas and New Year's are both on the weekend, which is weird. That's why we're doing this early. Like that's the reason why I wanted to do this, by the way, because it was like, Christmas is Friday, the next week New Year's is Friday, like, which is crazy because people are going to get off on Thursday and they're gonna end up with a 3-day weekend. So you know they getting fucked up when they partying for New Year's, and they ain't waking up until that Sunday. So yeah.
It didn't even occur to me Christmas was like this Friday until like a little bit earlier.
Yeah, because this is
I had a friend who was like, they were talking about how they're going to take 2 weeks off. So, like they were doing something for me, and they're like, all right, I'm going to give me to the weekend because I'm taking 2 weeks off and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, is this person a moron? Like, you're not going to do shit. It's going to be Christmas and New Year's and shit. You're not going to do any of this stuff you're talking about. Come on. The way we lie to ourselves about how we're going to use like holidays as an actual free time. Most of you assholes just spend it on your stupid families. Like that's right, bitch. I'm the Grinch.
You stupid families. God. Such a cold-hearted person. But, yeah.
I hope you enjoy your stupid families there.
That's not nice. That is not nice at all. Enjoy your lovely families, people. I wish you well. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa.
Why you say Kwanzaa
Happy
last,
Festivus.
And then a made-up holiday after? Yeah. Racist.
Really? Because Kwanzaa is not a made-up holiday.
I was talking about festive. Kwanzaa is real. What do you mean? Kwanzaa is the most legitimate holiday.
Festivus actually has been made a holiday.
Oh, God. Let's just end it out there. I don't want to talk about
I'm serious. People, there is a... tomorrow is actually Festivus. You think I'm lying?
I don't think you're lying.
Google
That's the
it.
problem. That's the problem. Oh, my God. I don't like the world. Let's move on.
Yeah, if you Google it, you'll see that Festivus is tomorrow. So, boo. Go ahead, do it. I want you to do it. Do it, sir.
You know what this is like? It's like when Bootylicious made it into the dictionary. Like, clear signs that society is crumbling,
Or
and everybody
bling.
just fucking laughs.
Bling is in there as well. I feel like there's something else that's in there.
The clear, direct signs that the end times are nigh, and everybody's just like, "Oh my God, cool!" I'm like, hooray!
Oh yeah, vacay. Vacay.
I take back what I said about the possibility.
Oh, hangry. Rando.
I take it back. Anything I said about being positive,
Adorbs.
I take it all back.
When did Fabulosity?
Yeah, all right. How about we? All right,
Bougie. Mansplain. Yeah. See?
all your favorite words to use on Festivus.
Pretty much.
God.
Get ready for the strengths of feet. The feats of strength.
I feel like the whole season's been ruined just because I know that now.
Oh man. Anyway. All right, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm done. I'm going to probably stop drinking cognac now and go chill for the rest of the evening. You guys have a wonderful holiday season. Be safe. Don't do anything stupid. Don't have a super spreader event, please, if you can help it. I know it's rough, but you know, you can enjoy the holidays still, even in these trying times. Yeah. Sir, I wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, a Happy Kwanzaa, a Happy Festivus, a Happy New Year. I just list them in the order of when they were created. It's not racist. It's not. Isn't that the order of when they were created? Well,
I don't know.
With the exception of Christmas and Hanukkah, I don't know which came first, but You know, Kwanzaa came before Festivus. It did.
It's racist.
It really is. Like
I'm
you're
just
sitting
gonna
up
say
there,
happy holidays to
like you
people.
are sitting there talking about like Umoja and all that yourself. Come on, don't lie.
Because the white people took away the heritage, so I didn't know anything about it. That's why. Anyway, happy holidays. And that's all I'm going to say as a catch-all, because I like to be efficient. I think that's something you should all learn in the new year, to be more efficient.
You know, some people will be like, that's not American in itself to make people say happy holidays. Remember?
Oh, fuck them.
You're not wrong.
I'll have to get over it somehow.
Not wrong, but yeah. I'm trying to acknowledge everybody at once so nobody will be upset. And you just like, whatever. Fuck your life, son. All right.
Well, if you have a problem with it at home, I hope your holidays. Well, never mind. I hope your holidays are still fine, I guess. I just don't hope it's as good as mine.
And on that note, we are out of here. So thanks you guys for listening, supporting all year long. Hopefully 2021 will bring better things for all of us. So keep fingers crossed, you know. Keep toes crossed, keep eyes crossed, like whatever. Cross your tongue if you can, something, for God's sake. Just hope we have better things ahead. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you guys take care, and we'll see you next time on the Reason Reborn. Peace.